What car will you never buy again? Toyota, because I'm pretty sure mine will last the rest of my life with no problems. Lol. I took my 2002 Corolla to the mechanic thinking it was going to cost me a fortune. $60 later, and the fella told me to never get rid of it. Jeeps just expect every problem. My dad calls them, just empty every pocket. A Toyota Prius. I bought a 2007 and told my wife I'd drive it until it dies. That thing would not die. I mean, it never even needed repairs. Tires, oil changes, wiper blades, and bulbs. I really wanted a new car. Thankfully, she agreed to let me sell it. At 280K plus miles, it still drove like new. I'll never make that mistake again. I once saw a NY cab that was a Prius with 450K miles on it. Absolutely astounding. PT Cruiser. Almost everything went wrong with my lemon yellow PT Cruiser. Just a few fun things. Backdoor button didn't work, and I had to pull back the paneling to access a release from the inside. I didn't dare tap my horn, as it would frequently just stay honking constantly until I turned off the car. Battery leaked constantly for some reason. I had to disconnect every time I parked. Gas gauge stopped working around half empty. I've spent nearly 15 years working as a parts advisor selling parts for Suzuki, Subaru, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, Alfa, Hyundai, Kia, and GM. From that, I will never buy anything American, European, and/or Korean made. I will only buy Japanese cars. Wow, I scrolled from top to bottom and I didn't see Mazda once. Not me, but my parents had a Dodge. My parents had a Dodge Caliber that had so many issues with the transmission, axles, engine, exhaust, and so much more that it made me never want to own a Dodge when I do buy a car one day. I've heard other Dodge owners having issues too. The comments about the cars are quite fascinating. It's interesting to hear people's experiences with different car brands and how those experiences shape their future buying decisions. It's also a little bit funny to hear the different acronyms people have come up with for certain brands. Overall, it's an engaging discussion about cars and their reliability. I once had a Toyota Prius, and let me tell you, that thing just would not quit. I swore I'd drive it into the ground, but it never even needed repairs. It's crazy how reliable those cars can be. But on the flip side, I had a friend who had a PT Cruiser, and it was a complete lemon. So many things went wrong with it that it just became a headache. It's really made me think twice about getting certain brands in the future. Have you ever had a similar experience with a car that has made you swear off a certain brand? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's move right into our next Reddit post. What's a movie most people completely missed the point on? The same people who idolized Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street are the same schmucks who would lose their life savings to him. He fed on people who were equally greedy and ignorant, basically today's hustle culture. That's the whole point of the last scene. We're in the audience for Belfort's talk as the next generation of marks for people like him. Most mob movies, but specifically Goodfellas. So many people say that Goodfellas glorifies the mob, and I just don't see how anyone could interpret the movie like that. Yeah, we see them have a bunch of luxurious items, but I'd say the film does a pretty damn good job of showing you the mafia isn't glorious. Everyone who dies in this movie dies a horrible death. A lot of them were killed by people that they'd consider their friends. You see the main character ruin his life. By the end of the movie, he's a paranoid coke addict who's forced to live in witness protection. I don't know how anyone can get the impression that being in the mob is something special from this movie. Corrected. Whiplash. It's about the hatred and alienation that comes with obsession. No, Dad, it's not about how discipline and practice will make you good at music. Into the Wild was not supposed to inspire wanderlust or desires to leave one's life to go live a simple life in the wild. Finding Nemo sales of pet clownfish increased a lot after the release of the film. Full Metal Jacket. It was trying to make a point about the dehumanizing effects of war. Instead, people just thought that Hartman was funny and quoted him endlessly, not appreciating that he himself was a traumatized WW2 veteran training young men to go and suffer the same fate as him, or worse, in the name of patriotism, and seemingly oblivious to the irony of the situation. Romeo and Juliet. Not sure if that counts, but that might be the most widely misunderstood story ever. Starship Troopers. Pretty much everything it got criticized for was very much the point. Told a buddy I was excited to see District 9 when it was around, and he ended up going to see it the weekend before my spouse and I could make it in. When I saw him again on Monday, he was like, "Do not go see it. It's so bad." We ended up leaving the theater early. It was that bad, which really confused me since it had pretty amazing praise. I went and saw it the next weekend anyway, with obviously lower expectations and left feeling blown away by it. Confusingly, I asked him on the next Monday why he didn't seem to like it, as I enjoyed it immensely, and he straight-faced without missing a beat, said, "I mean, who cares? They're just alien cockroaches. They're not human." Never could look at him quite the same after that. This is definitely an interesting discussion. People often miss the underlying message in movies, and it's fascinating to see how different individuals interpret the same film. Take Goodfellas, for example. The portrayal of the mafia might look luxurious on the surface, but the movie does a great job of showing the dark side and the consequences of that lifestyle. It's not meant to glorify the mob at all. Similarly, The Wolf of Wall Street highlights the harmful effects of greed and ignorance, yet some people chose to idolize Jordan Belfort. It's crazy how some viewers completely miss the point of these films. Have you ever watched a movie and realized that you completely missed the point until someone pointed it out to you? What was the movie, and how did your perspective change after gaining a new understanding of it? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's move right into our next Reddit post. What's the most egregious liberty Hollywood has taken with history while still claiming based on the true story? In Braveheart, the famous Battle of Stirling Bridge scene is fought on a grass field with no bridge or water in sight. Catch Me If You Can. Allegedly based on the life of conman Frank Abagnale, it's almost entirely fictitious. The biggest con is that Abagnale managed to convince anyone it was true. In hindsight, the fact that it duped us all is hilarious. Okay, so we're telling the story of this guy's life, according to him. Yep. And the story of his life is that he lies about being a pilot, he lies about being a doctor, lies about being a lawyer, all while writing bad checks and dodging the feds. Yeah, what a ride. And we're sure that the guy whose entire life is lying about every single thing is giving us the truth this time. Why not? Okay, here's $100 million. Let's get this made. Cool runnings. There was a Jamaican team and they competed. That's about it for accuracy. They didn't have a sled when they got there, and they did carry the sled to the finish, so there's that. But if I recall correctly, the 4 of them were National Guard members, not random buffoons. Good Morning Vietnam. When asked how accurate the film was, the real Adrian Cronor would say, "I was a DJ in Vietnam. That's about it." Bohemian Rhapsody. Just the entire movie. The Greatest Showman is a movie that comes to mind. Barnum was not an orphan. He had a mother and 5 siblings. He had 4 daughters, not 2. Singer Jenny Lind wasn't attracted to Barnum and didn't try to have an affair with him. I read somewhere that she actually thought he was weird. The ages and dates of when things happened are often wrong, though this isn't new to based on a true story movies. Barnum's cruel treatment of animals and the people in his freak show is either ignored or woefully understated. The bearded lady joined his show when she was a baby. Tom Thumb was Barnum's cousin and joined when he was 5. I could go on. It makes me wonder why they didn't just make a movie about a fictional ringmaster rather than contort the story the way they did. That said, the soundtrack is amazing. Hidalgo, which was based on the memoirs of a guy who said he was half Lakota and won a 3,000-mile horse race in the Arabian desert riding a wild Mustang. Literally none of that was true. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. The history books clearly state he was fighting werewolves, not vampires. SMH. This is definitely interesting. There are so many examples of Hollywood taking liberties with history in movies claiming to be based on true stories. One that stands out is Catch Me If You Can, because the entire story of Frank Abagnale is so outrageous that it's hard to believe it's true. I mean, pretending to be a pilot, doctor, and lawyer while also writing bad checks and dodging the feds. It's like a wild ride of lies within lies. And then you have Good Morning Vietnam, where the real Adrian Cronauer basically said the only accurate part was that he was a DJ in Vietnam. It's hilarious how much Hollywood can exaggerate and distort real events for entertainment. What do you think about the way Hollywood often portrays historical events with such creative liberty? Is it frustrating, or do you see it as just a part of the entertainment industry? Well, that's another episode of Ask Reddit in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.